Greetings, vinyl community, and welcome to VC Friday. I have some Krautrock to start things off. This is the third and final album from 1980 by La Düsseldorf, abbreviated to just La D on the cover. The album is Individualos, and La Düsseldorf is basically a spin-off of Neu, which in turn was basically a spin-off of Kraftwerk. You may well have seen that widely circulated Beat Club video of Kraftwerk in a really unusual lineup without Ralf Hutter, but with Florian Schneider, Michael Rotter, and Klaus Dinger, performing a piece that's come to be known as Truck Stop Gondolero. Well, Michael Rotter and Klaus Dinger went on to form Neu, and then when Neu dissolved, Klaus Dinger, with his brother Tomas, formed La Düsseldorf. And they made these three albums, and by the time of this third, the band pretty much was just the two brothers. All the compositions are credited to Klaus Dinger, except one by Tomas, one by both of them, and the final track credited to the two brothers plus the two former La Düsseldorf members, Hans Lampe and Andreas Schell. Andreas Schell is the only specific instrumental credit on the album. He's credited with playing the piano on that track. He had died by suicide earlier in the year. Not earlier than the recording, but earlier than the album release. And this is very much classic krautrock with the motoric beat, very much a continuation of the Neu strategies, including the idea of taking one track and then manipulating it to create more tracks out of it. Basically, side one of the album is all one piece. It starts off with the sort of triptych of Menschen, Menschen 1, men, and that goes into Individualos and then back into Menschen 2. So you've got basically one long piece out of those three variations. And the next piece, Sentimental, is a rhythmless, sort of ambient instrumental piece, which is based on Menschen, played backwards, slowed down, and electronically manipulated. And then the last track on the side, Lieber Honig 1981, is an instrumental version of Menschen, slow, in a different key. So that's very much the way Neu operated, particularly on the second album. So there you go. On side two, there's some kind of mock oompa music, sort of stereotype German beer garden sounds, and that's particularly the case with the final track, the one that is credited to the four members rather than just the Dingers. This is on the Teldec label from Germany, and comes with this inner sleeve with some lyrics and some blurry electronically manipulated photos, and not a whole lot of information about what's going on the recording. So, Individualos by La Düsseldorf. I picked up an album from last Black Friday record store day, which showed up at Vinyl Solution recently, and that is the Freewheelin Bob Dylan, the mono mix with the early track listing that was changed at the last minute. And of course, famously, some copies got out with the original track listing, and those are worth big bucks. This one I didn't have to pay big bucks for, and I get to hear the originally intended track listing with 4 different songs. This is the version that includes the songs Rocks and Gravel, Let Me Die in My Footsteps, Rambling Gambling Willie, and Talking John Birch Paranoid Blues. And those songs were all removed from the album for the final official track listing and replaced by Masters of War, Girl from the North Country, Bob Dylan's Dream, and Talkin' World War III Blues. So either way, there was going to be one of those Talkin' Blues songs, both very funny, both very worth hearing. And of course, the whole album ends with another very funny song, I Shall Be Free, the song which makes mention of the late Brigitte Bardot, who will make our country grow. So last summer there was a 50th anniversary reissue of Frank Zappa's One Size Fits All, very classic album, one of Zappa's most accessible albums, one that doesn't have any of the elements that put a lot of people off, in particular the locker room kind of humor. Just a really enjoyable album, musically great. Anyway, the 50th anniversary version came out in the form of this 5 CD box set, which is full of studio outtakes and rough mixes, and there's a live concert from Europe, there's the surround mix on here. But at the time, I didn't buy the vinyl reissues that accompanied it. Of course, the whole box set never did come out on vinyl, but there were 2 colored vinyl, sort of just for fun editions that came out. One was a double LP, which contained the main album on one disc, and the second disc was a selection of the bonus material from here. And the other was this one. This is just the album itself, a single LP, but in this very cool metallized version of the cover art. It comes with little print, just some photographs of Uncle Frankie there. And the vinyl itself is on Blue Galaxy vinyl, which, when I hold it up like this, looks suspiciously like black vinyl, but I will insert a frame of me holding it up to the light where you can really see how cool the colored vinyl is on this. And as big a Frank Zappa collector as I am, I didn't buy this at the time it was first released because I just have so many copies of this album already, including the original 1975 album I bought, or copy that I bought when it was first released. But I got this on sale, so couldn't resist.
Chester's playing.
And lastly, I have 3 albums on the Firehouse 12 label. These all really go together. They're all double LPs, and they all feature a lot of the same musicians. All 3 albums feature the brilliant guitarist Mary Halvorson, whose album About Ghosts was one of my favorite releases of 2025, also one of my favorite covers of 2025. Isn't that cool? Also, drummer Tomas Fujiwara is on all three of these, and trumpet and cornet player Taylor Ho Bynum is on 2 out of the 3. So drawing on the same pool of musicians, but the first one is Mary Halvorson's group Codegirl, Artlessly Falling. And this is a vocal album with a really interesting guest appearance rather late in his career by Robert Wyatt, who sings on 3 of the tracks, including the opener, The Lemon Trees. The other vocals are mainly by Amirtha Kidambi. There's also Maria Grand, the tenor sax player, who is also credited with voice. The rest of the band is Mary Halvorson on guitar, of course, doing her really trademark electronic trip where the guitar will be playing in a fairly normal sound world, and then she'll hit a pedal that will just make it go bloop and leap out of the tonality and just bend the note in a bizarre way. Adam O'Farrell is on trumpet, Michael Formanek on bass, and Tomas Fujiwara on drums and beer cans. And just to reinforce that, you get a Bud Light image on the inner spread. And this is on white vinyl. This is recorded in 2019 and released in 2020, and it's just a wonderful blend of free-ish jazz and art song and rock, or post-rock. Absolutely listenable all the way through. There's nothing forbidding. It doesn't go so far out that it's going to offend the ears, but it's also definitely not in the standard kind of bop tradition. Very cool stuff from Mary Halvorson.
You were running with jagged hands, anonymous, spongy fields, a headless boat in transit, with a pregnant nest of
Now, very much in the same basic arena, but with a kind of more compositional slant. You can tell this man has worked with Anthony Braxton. It's got a bit of that kind of compositional strategy to it. This is Taylor Ho Bynum and Navigation with the subtitle Possibility Abstracts 10 and 11. And this is a very unusual way of releasing the music. So the double LP consists of 2 different realizations of the composition Navigation. So that's what the Possibility Abstracts 10 and 11 means. But the release actually consists of 4 realizations. So 2 of them were released on this double LP. The other 2 were released as a double CD. And you get a download code in here, so you can download all 4 parts. So you're not missing anything by buying only the 1/2. Also, I bought this off of Bandcamp, so it comes with a download of all 4 parts anyway. This is on, if I can get it on here, this is the one that's on black vinyl, with the Firehouse 12 inner sleeve. And the music is composed in a modular format, and you can see a representation of that both in these sort of boxes joined by arrows on the cover, and on the inner spread, which displays sort of examples of the way the musicians can pick and choose how to get from one musical idea to another. This looks like it's all very atonal because there are no specific notes designated here. There are no staffs, just some beamed notes. But it's not completely atonal. There definitely are moments where people know what key they're in. They're playing together with the other musicians in a specific key or tonality. So again, it's not completely random, freeform, noisy jazz. It's got a strong compositional element to it. The musicians are Taylor Bynum on cornet, Jim Hobbs on alto sax, Bill Lowe on bass trombone and tuba, Mary Halvorson on electric guitar, Ken Filiano on acoustic bass, and Tomas Fujiwara on drums and vibraphone. The piece is in 6 movements, and it's put together so they don't have to all be played. The abstract 10 version, which takes up the first 2 sides, is in 5 movements, and the version 11, or abstract 11, on sides C and D is only 4 of them, including the one that was left off of the first version. So there you go, Taylor Bynum Navigation. And the last of the 3 double sets is Triple Double by Tomas Fujiwara. And the title is a bit of a giveaway. This is by 3 duos, essentially, because we have Tomas Fujiwara on drums and Gerald Cleaver on drums. We have Mary Halvorson on guitar and Brandon Seabrook on guitar. And finally, we have Ralph Alessi on trumpet and Taylor Bynum on cornet, which is just sort of a fat trumpet. So there's the interior. And this is indeed all about duos. Even though a lot of it is the full sextet playing together, it opens with just the 2 guitarists playing before the rest of the instruments join in. So you've got 2 guitars improvising together for the first minute or 2 of the track. Other tracks include on Hurry Home. There are 2 versions of that composition. The first one is called Hurry Home BG, which indicates that it's a guitar and drums duo performed by Brandon Seabrook, who would be the B on guitar, and Gerald Cleaver on drums. And then later in the album, there is Hurry Home MT, indicating that it's guitar and drums by Mary Halvorson and Tomas Fujiwara on that track. There's another duo titled For Allen, and that is a drum duo between the 2 drummers, also accompanied by a tape of Tomas Fujiwara as a boy taking lessons from the great jazz drummer Alan Dawson, no relation. And this is on beautiful vinyl. First off, here's the inner sleeve for disc 1. And then the disc itself matches. It's on this pink and orange with a little shading of purple or lavender there. I love this kind of splatter vinyl. Don't see this a lot on jazz releases. And here is the inner sleeve for the second disc. You'll see it's a different color scheme. So what we get here is entirely different. So that's it for VC Friday. Thanks very much for watching. It's not really easy to make a happy vinyl community video. This is Thursday morning for me, and the horrific events in Minneapolis happened just last night. But I'm hoping that music heals, and that's something I've experienced this week. I went to a couple of improvisation workshops to play over the last few days, and Sunday night on my way to Oakland to play at the workshop, my flute had a little accident, fell on the concrete, and even though it was in a padded case, it was damaged and rendered unplayable. So I was stuck. I had a harmonica with me. I played some harmonica while another person, this is experimental improvisation. You don't hear a lot of harmonica players entering into that, especially when they don't have anything else like electronics to channel it through. But in fact, my harmonica was channeled into electronics because I was playing in a duet with a guy who had a laptop, and he just had a microphone in front of me, and he was doing sort of granular synthesis of my playing, and I'm just sort of playing blues harp. So that was what it was. And for the next piece, I tried using the broken flute as a noisemaker, like taking the head joint off and just playing that, which makes some very cool sounds, but there's only so much you can do with it. So that was that. I did what I could, but I wasn't really proud of it. And I wasn't really feeling like I did justice to the other musicians who were all excellent. But then a couple days later, I went to another one. These always happen like just a couple days apart, as the schedule happens to work. And this time I brought my saxophone as well as a different flute, while the one that broke is now in the shop. And it was great. I had such a good time. It was wonderful, and it really washed away how embarrassed I was about the first one. I just made a real connection with the other musicians. I played well, they played great, and so it was. So the moral to that is music heals, and I hope music heals for all of us. Be well, and I will talk with you again soon. Bye-bye for now.
Listen, don't mention the war. I mentioned it once, but I think I got away with it all right.